Always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But
In 1952, a woman did something that could have ended her career before it began. She recorded a song that told a man he was wrong.
I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
In country music, women weren't supposed to do that. They were supposed to suffer. They were supposed to sing about abandonment and heartbreak and accept the narrative the men created for them. But Kitty Wells didn't accept anything, and her response became the moment everything changed. Welcome to Nashville Rewind, the channel dedicated to the country songs and stories that made history when they dared to tell the truth. Number 10, Waylon Jennings. Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way? 1974.
But I don't think Hank done it this way.
In the early 70s, Nashville had perfected a formula. Layer on the strings, smooth out the edges, make it palatable for radio, make it safe. Waylon Jennings had been trying to fit that mold for years, and every time he did, he felt something inside him dying. He was born in 1933 in Texas, a scrappy, ambitious kid who grew up listening to his mother's piano and his father's guitar.
Making one night stand, speeding my young life away.
By his 20s, he was already a session musician, an engineer, a guy trying to be everything Nashville wanted him to be. But the real Waylon, the one with dirt under his fingernails and rebellion in his blood, was drowning.
So tell me one more time, so I'll understand.
So in 1974, with his outlaw movement finally gaining traction, Waylon did something Nashville had been praying he wouldn't do. He recorded, Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way?
Sure Hank done it this way.
The song was an open letter to Hank Williams, his hero, but it was also a middle finger to every record executive who'd ever tried to soften him up. The strings are stripped away, the guitars ring raw, and Waylon's voice, that wounded, weathered voice, asks a question that hangs in the air like smoke.
Oh, Hank really do it this way.
Did Hank really do it like this? Or did they dress him up, water him down, turn the king of country into a product before they buried him? What people don't know is that Waylon fought RCA tooth and nail over this recording. The label wanted it fuller, lusher, more traditional. Waylon refused. He said the song had to breathe, had to hurt, had to feel like the truth. He won the battle, but the industry would never forgive him for asking the question in the first place.
Stand, speeding my young life away.
By standing his ground on a single song, Waylon Jennings gave every outlaw country artist who came after him permission to stay broken.
So tell me one more time, so I'll understand.
Number 9, Kristofferson, Sunday Morning Coming Down, 1969.
Well, I woke up Sunday morning.
Kristofferson was a Rhodes Scholar, Yale-educated, military officer. He had every advantage, and he threw it all away for a dream that Nashville told him was impossible.
And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad.
When he arrived in Music City in the early 60s, he was already pushing 30, too old, too educated, too strange. He worked as a janitor in a recording studio, hoping someone would notice him. No one did.
So I had one more for dessert.
He delivered beer. He drove a forklift. He helicoptered soldiers in Vietnam, nearly died, came home empty. And through it all, he kept writing songs.
Then I fumbled through my closet for my clothes.
Songs about heroin, songs about poverty, songs about waking up on a city sidewalk with a bottle in your hand and no reason to believe today would be any different from yesterday.
My cleanest dirty shirt.
Sunday Morning Coming Down was based on his own experience with addiction. When Johnny Cash recorded it in 1969, Cash himself battling his own demons, it became a country radio staple.
Then I washed my face and combed my hair.
But the song never went to number 1. Radio stations were uncomfortable with its honesty. Parents called in, sponsors complained. The song was too real, too painful, too close to the bone.
Stumbled down the stairs to meet the day.
It talked about poverty like poverty was something respectable, something worth singing about. What made Kristofferson dangerous wasn't talent. He had that in abundance. It was that he refused to look away from the broken parts of America. He wrote, "Me and Bobby McGee, for the good times, help me make it through the night."
I'd smoked my brain the night before.
Every single one of them was rejected by Nashville producers before they became standards. The real cost came later. Years of addiction followed. A helicopter crash in a scene so close to his autobiography that people couldn't separate the man from the myth.
Cigarettes and songs that I've been picking.
Yet even now, Sunday Morning Coming Down remains one of the most important country songs about class and despair ever written. Kristofferson made it acceptable to sing about hitting rock bottom.
But I lit my first and watched a small kid.
Number 8. Steve Earle, Copperhead Road, 1988. Steve Earle grew up in Texas, listening to Townes Van Zandt and Waylon Jennings. He learned that country music wasn't supposed to be pretty, it was supposed to be true. Copperhead Road is the story of a man who comes home from Vietnam to find his family's moonshine operation shut down. He has no skills, no job prospects, no way forward except the one carved out by his father and grandfather before him.
You hardly ever saw granddaddy down here.
The song starts as what sounds like a traditional family narrative, but it pivots hard into social commentary. This man isn't romantic, he's not noble, he's desperate, and he's going to do what the country expects people like him to do.
They only come a town about twice a year.
Break the law because the system left him no other choice. The song was controversial from day one. Conservative radio stations called it pro-drug, pro-crime, un-American. They didn't understand what they were hearing.
Buy 100 pounds of yeast and a copper line.
A country song that dared to suggest that poverty in Vietnam could destroy a man's chance at legitimacy. That the American dream wasn't actually available to everyone. Steve Earle's life spiraled after that. The heroin addiction everyone had heard rumors about consumed him.
Everybody knew that it made moonshine.
He went to prison. He nearly died. But unlike other artists who've run into similar walls, Steve did something remarkable. He survived, cleaned up, and kept making music that told the truth. What most people don't know is that Copperhead Road actually references a real road in Tennessee where Earle's ancestors distilled moonshine. The song isn't invented nostalgia. It's lived experience. It's a man documenting his own family's entanglement with the system's failures. Steve Earle took a genre that wanted to celebrate toughness and forced it to confront what toughness actually costs. Number 7. Merle Haggard, The Bottle Let Me Down, 1966.
The bottle let me down.
Merle Haggard was born in a railroad labor camp in California. His father was a musician. His mother was a pianist. He grew up surrounded by music and poverty.
And let your memory
Watching both his parents work themselves to exhaustion. By the time he was a teenager, Merle had been arrested. By 20, he was in San Quentin. He sat in a cell and listened to Johnny Cash sing about prisons, about men like him, about lives the world had written off as garbage. Merle listened and understood that country music could be a lifeline.
the one true friend I
When he got out, he became an obsessive musician. He learned everything. He absorbed every influence. And then he started writing songs that nobody wanted to touch.
tonight. The bottle
The Bottle Let Me Down is ostensibly a song about alcohol. A man at his lowest moment, reaching for a bottle to numb the pain, only to find that the bottle is the only thing that could possibly understand him. But it's not really about alcohol. It's about a system that failed you, then blamed you for your failure.
let me down.
The bottle becomes a metaphor for every false promise, every institution, every place you turned when you had nowhere else to go. The song was considered too dark, too brutal, too willing to pit a man against his own desperation.
I've always had a bottle.
Merle Haggard went on to have massive success, but his early songs, the ones that mattered most, were almost killed by radio programmers who didn't want to hear about men with no future. Merle recorded them anyway. He recorded them in a way that no amount of commercial success could ever erase the bitterness underneath.
I could turn to.
What people don't realize is that Merle Haggard was recording songs about systemic failure decades before the politics around those issues became fashionable. He wasn't trying to win awards or prove a point. He was singing the only songs he knew how to sing, true ones. Merle Haggard made it possible for country music to be about failure without being about failure of character.
Lately, I've been turning every day.
Number 6. Guy Clark. Desperados Waiting for a Train, 1975.
Run his fingers through sand.
Guy Clark was born in Texas in 1941. His parents owned a hotel, and he spent his childhood watching transient men come through. Old cowboys, out-of-work musicians, men whose time had passed. He watched them carefully. He listened to their stories, and he never forgot any of it.
Lord, as ever will I drill gone.
Desperados Waiting for a Train is the story of two men, one young, one old. The old man, an outlaw and rambler, takes the young man under his wing. He teaches him how to live outside the system, how to move through the world without letting the world claim you.
His friends, me.
The song sounds like nostalgia, like a celebration of the outlaw life. But it's not. It's an elegy. Because by the time the song ends, you realize the old man is dying. The young man is going to have to figure out how to live in a world that has no use for either of them.
And his old man was like desperate.
The desperados waiting for a train aren't waiting for adventure. They're waiting to escape. They're waiting for any way out. Nashville didn't know what to do with this song. It was too long, too narrative, too literary. It sounded like something a poet would write, not a country musician.
Waiting for a train.
Radio programmers pushed back. Labels hesitated. But Guy Clark didn't care about commercial viability. He cared about being honest, and he was willing to make music that might reach nobody, if it meant the music was true.
Like desperados waiting for a train.
What made Guy Clark revolutionary was something subtle but crucial. He elevated country songwriting to literature without losing its emotional center. He wrote about working-class people, about aging, about the American West. But he wrote about these things with the same depth and complexity that poets used.
And a driller oil wells.
In between entry 6 and entry 5, I want to stop and ask you something. Nashville Rewind exists because certain songs mattered enough to keep singing, even when the world told the artist to be quiet.
Old school man of the world.
These 10 protest anthems aren't protest in the obvious way. They're not screaming slogans. They're not marching songs. They're quiet defiances. Songs about being broken by a system that was never built for you.
He taught me how to drive his car, and he's too.
But refusing to apologize for it anyway. If your music means anything to you, if certain songs have ever felt like they were saving your life, then what you're about to hear in the second half of this countdown is going to devastate you. These aren't songs you forget.
Drunk too.
Number 5, Dolly Parton, Coat of Many Colors, 1971.
And I just couldn't wait to wear it, and Mama blessed.
Dolly Parton was raised in poverty in the Smoky Mountains. Her father was a sharecropper. Her family had nothing. So when her mother sewed together scraps of fabric to make her a coat, a patchwork thing made of old clothes and love, Dolly understood something profound about dignity.
My coat of many colors that my mama.
When she wrote and recorded Coat of Many Colors in 1971, she was already successful. She'd already escaped Sevier County. She'd already proven she could make it in Nashville.
Made only from rags, but I wore it.
But she chose to turn around and sing about the things she'd been taught to be ashamed of: poverty, hand-me-downs, a mother who couldn't afford to buy new clothes. The song is devastatingly simple. It's told from a child's perspective. A girl who loves her coat, not because it's beautiful, but because it's her mother's love made tangible.
Although we had no money, I was rich as.
Other kids mock her. Their mothers tell her she looks trashy, but she looks at her coat and sees artistry. She sees sacrifice. She sees that her mother loved her enough to stitch together something beautiful from nothing.
I could be in my coat of many colors.
When Coat of Many Colors was released, some in Nashville saw it as career suicide. You didn't sing about being poor. You didn't celebrate the things poor people made. You aspired upward. You left it all behind and never looked back. Dolly Parton refused. She said, "My mother's love wasn't something to escape from. It was something to honor. It was everything." The song was initially overlooked, but it became a country standard. More importantly, it gave other artists permission to sing about their own poverty without shame.
Patches on my britches, holes in
To turn hardship into narrative, to transform survival into artistry. What most people don't know is that Dolly's family was so poor that her siblings didn't have shoes. The church donated shoes, hand-me-downs, and that's the only way some of her siblings could go to school.
both my shoes, in my coat of many colors.
The story she's telling in Coat of Many Colors isn't metaphor, it's memory. Dolly Parton proved that the most subversive thing a country artist could do was tell the truth about being working class.
Well, I hurried off to school just to find
Number 4, George Jones. He stopped loving her today. 1978.
When half crazy, now
George Jones was born in Texas in 1931, and he spent the next 50 years destroying himself for country music. By 1978, he was washed up. He'd been through multiple divorces. He'd battled cocaine addiction for years. He'd lost his voice to smoking. His career was in shambles.
but he still loved her through it all.
Record labels saw him as a has-been. Nashville had moved on. But someone, maybe his producer, maybe just a song that landed on his desk, gave him He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Kept hoping she'd come back again.
It was written by Snuff Garrett and Bobby Braddock, but when George Jones recorded it, he inhabited it completely. The song is about a man whose obsessive love for a woman consumes him until the day he dies.
Every single high low.
She leaves him, but he can't let her go. He rewrites his entire life around the idea of having lost her, and the only way the pain stops is when he stops loving her, which happens the moment he stops breathing.
I went to see my friend today.
When the song was released, it was unlike anything on country radio. It was too dark, too obsessive, too willing to treat a man's descent into lovesickness as a kind of noble tragedy. It was also devastatingly beautiful.
But I didn't see no tears.
George Jones was 56 years old when he recorded it. He'd spent his entire life proving he could survive anything. But in He Stopped Loving Her Today, he sings like a man who understands that some things break you permanently.
Oh, and we all wondered if she would.
Some losses never heal. Sometimes the only exit is a closed casket. What people don't realize is that George Jones sang that song as a man who'd lived through the exact scenario he was describing.
It kept running through my mind.
He'd destroyed relationships. He'd lost people he loved. He'd woken up in rooms where the walls were closing in. He Stopped Loving Her Today wasn't fiction for him. It was documentation.
Well, this time, he's over her.
The song won the Country Music Association Award for Song of the Year. It became his legacy, and it proved that honesty about emotional devastation could cut through all the other noise and become something permanent.
He stopped loving her.
George Jones made it acceptable to sing about love as a form of self-destruction. Number 3, Kitty Wells. It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels, 1952. Kitty Wells was not supposed to exist. In 1952, country music was a male-dominated world, and women were allowed to sing only about what men permitted. Then Hank Thompson released The Wild Side of Life, a song that blamed women for the downfall of men. The message was clear. Women were temptresses. Women were the problem. Women were what destroyed men. Kitty Wells listened to that song, and instead of accepting it, she responded with, "It wasn't God who made honky tonk angels." It's a direct answer. It's not a plea. It's not a justification. It's an accusation. Kitty sings that if women are in honky tonks, it's because men put them there. If women are alone, it's because men left them. If women are suffering, it's because the men in their lives made choices that forced them into those situations. The song was released in 1952. It became one of the first massive hits by a female country artist. It revolutionized the genre overnight, but it came at a cost. Kitty Wells was attacked. She was called names. Respectable women weren't supposed to argue back. They were supposed to suffer silently. Sing about loneliness. Accept whatever narrative men created for them. Kitty Wells refused. She recorded it with complete conviction. Her voice carries no apology. She's not asking for sympathy. She's holding up a mirror and asking the men in her audience to look at what they'd done. What most people don't know is that Kitty Wells almost didn't record the song. She was nervous about the response. Her husband and duet partner Johnny Wright encouraged her to do it. He understood, even in 1952, that the song was necessary, that someone needed to say what Kitty was brave enough to sing. It wasn't God who made Honky Tonk Angels, wasn't just a hit single. It was a crack in Nashville's foundation. It was the moment when country music could no longer pretend that women had no agency, no voice, no right to set the record straight. Kitty Wells made it possible for every female country artist who came after her to sing back. Number 2, Loretta Lynn, The Pill, 1975. Loretta Lynn was born in 1932 in Butcher Holler, Kentucky. She was the daughter of a coal miner. She had 13 brothers and sisters. She was pregnant by 17. She was a mother of 4 by 22. She knew what it meant to have no control, to have your body used against your will, to watch women around you destroyed by endless pregnancy, by bodies that wouldn't stop producing, by a system that told you that motherhood was your only purpose. When Loretta wrote and recorded The Pill in 1975, she did something no country artist had done before. She sang, explicitly and unapologetically, about contraception. She sang about a woman who finally had agency over her own body. She sang about what happens when women can choose when, or if, to have children. The backlash was immediate and vicious. Radio stations refused to play it. The Grand Ole Opry distanced themselves from her. Religious leaders condemned her. Men in Nashville said she was destroying the fabric of country music. They said she was unfit to be a country artist. They said she was attacking family values. Loretta Lynn didn't care. She'd lived the alternative. She'd watched her mother wither under the weight of endless pregnancy. She'd felt the trap close around her own life. And she was done with silence. The Pill reached number 1 on the country charts, despite the controversy. Or maybe because of it. Because there were millions of women who'd been waiting for someone in a position of power to say what Loretta said, that women's bodies belong to women, that motherhood is a choice, not a sentence.
Get away from there. No, not you, honey. I was talking to the baby.
What people don't know is that Loretta Lynn's own mother died at 56, broken down by childbirth and a life without agency.
Wait a minute, honey, it's the doorbell. Honey, could you stop at the market?
Loretta was still in her 20s when she watched her mother diminish. Everything she sang about in The Pill came from having witnessed what the absence of choice does to a woman. Loretta Lynn made it possible for country music to be about women's liberation. Number 1, Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, 1955.
Those people keep a-moving, and that's...
In 1955, Johnny Cash was 23 years old, and he walked into Sam Phillips' recording studio in Memphis with a song that would define his entire life.
what tortures me. Well, if they...
Folsom Prison Blues was based on a song called Crescent City Blues. but Johnny rewrote it completely. He didn't want to sing about a blues musician's heartbreak. He wanted to sing about a man in prison, a man in a cage, a man watching the world move on without him.
From this prison, if that railroad train was mine.
There's a famous opening line. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend, and I haven't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. Johnny Cash sang those words like a man who understood exactly what it meant to have lost your freedom.
Bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line.
The song doesn't apologize for the prisoner. It doesn't make excuses. It just lets you live inside a moment of complete, undeniable despair. When Folsom Prison Blues was released, Nashville didn't know what to do with it. It was too real, too angry, too willing to treat a prisoner's humanity as something worth singing about.
Far from Folsom Prison, that's where
In the 1950s, American culture was telling itself a story about law and order, about criminals as subhuman, about prisons as places where bad people went to be punished and forgotten. Johnny Cash refused that narrative. He sang the prisoner's humanity into existence.
And I'd lift that lonesome whistle, blow my
He sang about a man who had made mistakes, maybe terrible ones, but who still deserved to be remembered as a human being. What people don't know is that Johnny Cash didn't go to prison until much later in his life. But when he recorded Folsom Prison Blues, he sang like a man who'd already lived there.
But that train keeps rolling.
Like someone who understood that the margins of American society were filled with men who'd been written off, cast away, made invisible. Years later, in 1968, Johnny Cash actually performed at Folsom Prison in front of real inmates. He became, forever, the musician who understood that prisoners were men, that they had stories, that they mattered.
Down to San Antone.
Folsom Prison Blues didn't just become a country classic. It became a statement about class, about the justice system, about what it means to be on the other side of society's rules. But here's what makes it transcendent, what makes it the greatest protest anthem country music ever produced.
When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son.
Johnny Cash was never the person that song was written about. He was a successful musician, a man with a record deal, a man moving up. But he had the empathy, the vision, the fearlessness to sing about someone he could have looked down on and decided his story wasn't worth telling.
Always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns.
He could have stayed comfortable. He could have sung songs about love and trucks and beer, like everyone else. Instead, he chose to spend his life lifting up the invisible, the imprisoned, the addicted, the poor, the forgotten.
But I shot a man in Reno, just to
And it all
watch.
started with a man hearing a train in the distance and understanding that the sound meant freedom to everyone, except the people in cages. That's what made Johnny Cash unforgettable. Not his success, not his fame, but his refusal to forget the people the world wanted to erase.
Watch him die.
That's Nashville Rewind. That's what we stand for. Stories that mattered when the world wanted them silenced. Songs that told the truth when the industry demanded comfort. These 10 songs changed country music forever. They're waiting for you in the comments below.
Watch him die. Hear that whistle blowing.